Good morning, afternoon, whatever time you're watching this in the world is Don, and today's video is going to be all about my first class. So I just received an email from the director of the professional development programs. If you're watching this, Marine, hi. I just received an email saying that I need to register for Zoom and the Canvas course. I am going to, yay, so I am all logged in. So I have the Zoom link for all 15 classes. So this is what pops up. So I just need to enter my name. Okay, so everything is set up, so I should be able to log on soon. Okay, so I am quickly skimming the first two readings. One is 21 pages and the other one is 2 pages. So I received that message. So I don't think I can reply, but that's a good sign. That means I'm where I'm supposed to be. So yeah. Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay? I'm assuming yes. Okay, perfect. Hi, my name is Donzel Lampkins. I'm so excited to be here today. Currently employed as a clinical social worker at City Cancer Center, which kind of feels like a full circle moment. I also have a small private practice. I provide consultation and clinical supervision, and I'm also an adjunct faculty member. A follow-up question that I would have, just for clarification, because while mindfulness and meditation. Hey, so I am on a 10-minute break, well, 12-minute break from the fellowship, and so I can kind of take a moment to share my thoughts. So far, they are very knowledgeable. We had to do like a mindfulness exercise, and mindfulness and meditation are buzzwords that's become popularized and mainstreamed, yet there's little formal training and information that folks are utilizing prior to introducing it into secular spaces. And that was one of the questions that I posed, and just one of the observations that I shared. And I asked for one of the instructors to kind of distinguish meditation and mindfulness, and it was a really fruitful discussion about, and I'm going to paraphrase, that mindfulness is really about us being observant and seeing what comes up for us in the moment, while keeping our attention focused on whatever identified anchor that is. So that could be our breathing, that could be like, I have my diffuser, so I talked about that and saying how I have my diffuser and how that ended up serving as my anchor, and just kind of asking about the validity of that, and making sure, and also assessing sensories being an anchoring focal point, and he answered it pretty well, Nick, in saying that our sensories can serve as a focal point, an anchoring point for us to keep our attention, as long as we're not trying to flee from those emotions. So that's coming up from us, and for me, I didn't like it. Kind of served as a I found myself to be relaxed, but I'm naturally relaxed. I just wrapped up my first class. It was great. I absolutely loved it. I learned so much. It's so interesting because, so I'm not going to reveal too much because since it is a paid course, I always want to respect like copyrights and intellectual property, things of that nature. But they do have the schedule online, so I think that it's okay to share with you. So we had the welcome, then we had the instructors introduce themselves. We have 6 instructors, but I think 4 were present today. And then we had introduction, so we all introduced ourselves. We reviewed like the materials, we reviewed the schedule, and then they shared like what the case forms would consist of, which includes didactics and case presentations. And then we had our first class, which I believe can be categorized as fundamentals of behavioralism. That was very great. It was a nice amount of it was a refresher, but a nice amount of it was also new for me. I say refresher not in an arrogant way. I took behavioral psychology in undergrad. It was an honors course that was offered for neuroscience and psychology majors in the honors program. So I took that course and it was actually really good. I remember Dr. Wilson, Dr. Greg Wilson. I earned my B for sure. Overall impressions of the instructors is that they're very knowledgeable, they're very cognizant. I think one of the there was a statement that was said about learning what to ignore and what to focus on during sessions. And that sound initially like a very privileged thing to say, and it probably still does sound very privileged, but I think what I really enjoyed about it was that, or what made me warm up was that multiple times he was able to identify and verbally express his privilege and his identity and how that could impact the meaning he assigned to patients' behaviors, and then he elaborated on how that could be a disservice to the patient or client, and how it's important to remain curious and open-minded and to allow the patient, he didn't use the word expert, but I like to always say like to allow the patient or client to be the expert and to receive that information from them so we can contextualize the behavior within the environment. I really enjoyed it. We do have a homework assignment. I think I could share that with you all. We have multiple readings that's in the portal, so I'll be sure to read. And there were some refreshers that I had forgotten that I learned. So I'm really glad I could see that I'm going to be able to learn a lot, and it's nice to even be able to enter in and be observant about certain things moving forward for future sessions. And we're not going to try to apply all of this stuff yet, although a lot of us are already using these things, so it's not necessarily that, but yeah, that was the first meeting. My homework for this week is to look for moments that I'm tempted to affirm or reassure a patient or client, knowing that it won't help them in the long run. It's kind of serving an enabler, like we're enabling a behavior that isn't the best for the client. Last thing that I'll kind of discuss is the demographics. I think that it's important because we talk about like diversity and inclusivity, and one thing I can say is that I'm wondering how many people applied to the program and how many people were admitted, and I'd be curious to know like how many African Americans applied to the program and how many of us were accepted and how many of us accepted the offer versus yielding it. I know that there were only 2 African Americans, myself and another lady who I'm going to connect with if I could find her on social media. But everybody was super nice. I think that I'm the only male in the program. The guy, I thought he was a student at first, but as time went on, I realized he's an instructor. It seemed like everyone is also like cisgender too, just for like diversity purposes. I believe we had 1 to 2 Latinas. I believe we had like 2 to 3 Asians, and everyone is from mostly private practice. Also, a lot of the students are SSA alums. We have a few people in different states. That was cool since it's virtual this year, but they knew of the program because they were SSA alum. There was someone from Connecticut, someone from California. That was nice. And then one of the practitioners practiced in New Zealand for 6 years, so that was a cool fact to learn about her. And we also, for some reason, a lot of us disclosed our sexual orientation, and I think that's because the instructors did. I thought that was a little weird, but I think it created like a safe space for others to feel welcome. And I stated my race, and that was the most energy that I had for like advocacy work in a majority white space. And I think just saying that I'm Black says a lot. So I'm looking forward to the next 2 weeks. It's virtual, so I'm going to finish up work, but hopefully you all like this first video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and comment in the comment section below. If you've ever had any training in behaviorism. Thanks so much for watching, and until I see you next time, be you, be great.